welcome to Wedding Chat, everybody, with myself, Dave Ternier.
Jeremy Brech. Nice to see everybody. Dave, I guess you're really the only one I can actually see.
So we've got a couple people joining us live as well right now, so this is great.
Oh, awesome.
Robin and cool. Simeon Margaritas. Simeon, I'm sorry if I destroyed your last name there.
That's why we don't say last names. So
he said yep. He said yep. Owning it today.
Not at all. So yep. What that means is that isn't even close to say how you say my last name.
Dang it.
Anyway, yeah, so he did say it right. All right, this is good. I like this. Well, this is cool. I'm excited to get together. I had to miss last time, and I apologize. Hopefully Glenn did justice. I don't know.
We asked you back this time, so if that says anything. No, Glenn was a pile of fun to talk with. I mean, yeah, those that know Glenn and Jeremy and I, we're pretty interchangeable for one another, and nothing really changes when it comes to the conversation.
Really, the only reason you know it's not Glenn and it's not Dave or it is me is because we put our names on here. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, and there's the Canadian accent, the American accent, and the Australian accent.
Yeah. Gosh, I think he ripped it off from the English, though. Anyways, yeah, so this is going to be kind of an exciting show. And the reason I say that is because obviously a lot of people know me as the lighting, they know me for the lighting work that we do, which is, it's exciting to be known as that. But there's also, the thing is, like, in my market, yes, people realize that I do lighting, but they actually see me more as my entertainment and master ceremony skills. So it's funny that, like, the DJ world notices me as this lighting guy, because typically when I do a presentation, it's on lighting. So it's kind of fun to, talk about this in the show, because we don't really talk a lot about lighting in the show. So it'll be good. It'll be a fun show, and hopefully people can take away some nuggets. And the exciting thing is, so LDI, if you don't know what LDI is a huge lighting show out in Las Vegas. They basically fill up all of the North Hall and maybe some of the Central. And basically all the brand new lighting that's coming out. And it's not just in the U.S. I mean, it's Canadian lighting. Do you guys have lights in Canada?
Thanks for the shout out. Yeah, no.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, that's not true. We do have some. Elation. Are they a Canadian brand? No.
No.
What's the... I know we've got one, dang it. I'm going to find it.
Is it Blizzard?
That was good.
Thanks. So obviously there's a lot of companies across the globe, and this is kind of their time to shine to the American and the North America regions. There's big shows that happen over in China. There's big shows that happen over in Europe. So this is kind of the United States, or I guess I should say North America's big show. Yeah. So things that you're going to see at LDI, you're going to see video walls, you're going to see video floors, you're going to see movers, you're going to see uplights, you're going to see battery powered movers. You're going to see, just so much of the technology is changing. So if you haven't ever been to LDI and you really enjoy lighting, you can actually buy stuff at the show, but really what the show is there for is to inspire people. Like here's what this light can do. And then here's what 50 of these lights can do. So it's really cool seeing how people program, what they would program on a theater stage or on a stage at a concert. So I actually, when I spoke at LDI a couple years ago, and I remember walking the show floor, and it's huge. It's overwhelming. You can't do it all in one day. But the thing that I really enjoyed doing was walking on the show floor and seeing how some of these lighting designers are using, prisms and unfocusing and things like that. Because then it's like, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. And I kind of hope that's what people take away from, some of the shop time videos that I do. But also when they are walking, DJ Expo or Mobile Beat or the Disc Jockey News show in February, I hope they're walking the floor and kind of getting inspired by what some of these fixtures can do and what they can do with them. So kind of their tools. So this is really, like I said, it's going to be about lighting. I know that you've started dabbling into lighting a couple years ago, and it's been successful. Tell us about tell us what you kind of do with what you have in lighting.
Yeah, 100%. So I mean, I was kind of average. I had a. It wasn't an American DJ Decker, but it was some similar equivalent-ish or a Mystic equivalent-ish, and then 4 little wash panels, and I had them on a T-bar, and I would just kind of do stuff with them. And then it was probably 5-6 years ago, maybe, that I got 20 up lights, battery powered, Freedom Pars, and then a couple of movers as well. And I mean, I think it's not what people come to expect these days, but it's more rapidly becoming what people have come to expect these days. I think gone are the days of, not gone, I don't want to put anybody out here, but numbered are the days of dots flying all over the dance floor, particularly laser dots, that type of thing. I think those days are numbered, and it's been a really fun adventure for me now with movers and this type of thing. I need to do more programming with them because, of course, as you know, there's just a million different variables when it comes to a mover. And of course, when your room changes, which happens to us most events, the variables that you had your mover set for won't be quite as wonderful as before. There's some average variables, of course, you can set when it comes to how they fill a room and so on and so forth. But that's my journey in lighting. I haven't done any very particular nuanced lighting design. I know that's something that you really do specialize in. Contrary to what Jeremy says, he has been contracted locally for some pretty big contracts for lighting. So there's a few people that know you for lighting in your region.
So I love the fact that you kind of talked about, some of those, what we would call special effects, or what some of the market would call spin and puke lights. And, here's the thing, like there's nothing wrong with those lights.
No.
They're for different couples or different, brides and grooms, whatever it is. And, sometimes people don't have the budgets. Well, DJs don't have the budgets to just go all in on lighting either.
Right.
So I'm not saying like it's bad to have those specific lights or it's bad to have those kind of lights, but I think you are right. And I think we saw that turn of events probably about 4 years ago, when LED was really hot. It was like the LED lights or the circles that you're talking about, the dots, you would actually project that onto the dance floor, and that would be your special effects. They would spin, they would blink, they would do all this kind of stuff. And we actually have, we still have some of those lights, but we actually use those more for like laser tag. And some of the other things where, it's kids dances, little kids dances. Yeah. They still go nuts about those things.
Yeah. Bowling alleys use them.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The thing is, those lights never die. Like there's really no motors in there, because really you have this inside the fixture, you have this panel of LEDs, and you have these lenses at different angles. So when this LED lights up, it's shooting an LED that way, that way, that way, and that way. When this one lights up, now you're getting all these different patterns. It's really cool. The change in LED lighting is what changed everything in the lighting world.
100%. And I'll say this as well. I think the more, your local Best Buys and what have you, all of a sudden start having this stuff that used to only be accessible to DJs. The moment they make it available, really inexpensive to consumers, I think it's just in our best interest to start to get into lighting that differentiates us a little bit more from what the average consumer can buy, or what they might see at the bowling alley, or what they might see at their laser tag, party that they booked. I mean, a wedding is not a laser tag party. I think it's a little bit of a different step. Yeah.
And the thing, like when we started talking, and this is why I always recommend like networking with other people outside of the DJ market, I started talking with photographers and videographers, and they were like, you know what? We love what you do with the lighting, but those little green lasers that are all over the bride and groom, like we just don't like that. We can't edit those things out. And then it started dawn on me. I'm like, yeah, that's right. We are making their job harder and more difficult, when really we should be working together for a bride and groom. Yeah. So we started eliminating those lights. And then I started looking at the lights that were just spinning around, and it's like, okay, we can make it better. We can make it classier. So then we bought a whole bunch of the Chauvet 355s, or the 355Zs. We've basically just been upgrading and updating our movers as our company's been growing and as we've needed to. So now again, I think you're going to see a lot of those special effect lights kind of going away. They work great for little bars. They work great. But when you're working on an elegant wedding and they're paying you, you know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to DJ their wedding, they don't want those special effect lights at that point. They want it to be elegant. They want it to be clean. They want it to look good. Not just the setup itself, but what that setup is projecting. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe not a matter of. I think it's very similar to the speakers that we use, right? Nobody cares what speakers we use, but the better you are in, you know, managing sound equipment and maybe purchasing quality sound equipment, the more enjoyment people are going to get out of the event overall. They might not know why, but the more enjoyment they will get out of a well-produced evening. And I think that dovetails into some of this as well, Jeremy. I don't know that people are going to say, I don't want that special effect lighting at my event, but I think there's a higher level of enjoyment from something that's different than that. Maybe they can't put their finger on, but I think it'll translate to more success for that DJ.
Yeah. So DJ Mike actually just posted in our chat here that he bought some of the Chauvet hybrid 140s. By far my favorite light of all time. To me, those lights are some of the best investments that we've made, and the whole idea of, you know, go upping your game in the market, you know, getting a fixture like that and getting two of those to kind of create the energy, the ambiance, the elegance is, you know, that's a huge step, and I think people do recognize those investments that you've made, which again makes people want to invest in you as well. The other thing he had just posted here, he said he's getting undercut in his market at $750. So I can tell you that if you are, and again, we're kind of going off of lighting here, but the one way, you know, we get undercut all the time. And I mean, we get undercut by companies that are charging, you know, $3,000, $4,000 for a DJ. That's we're still being undercut. But the DJs that are charging $750, again, if you've raised your standard in what you're doing as a master of ceremonies, what you're doing as a DJ, you're mixing, all that, you know, your lighting,
the whole package.
Setup, yeah, exactly. Then let those $750 brides go. They're not worth it for you anyways. Because if you can start charging $2,000 or $3,000, then I think what that's going to do is it's going to open you up to a higher clientele. It's going to make you work harder. You're going to appreciate your job that much more, because now you have the gratitude of knowing that you're worth what you're charging. And again, I mean, let the $750 brides go, because those $750 couples, you know, you don't want to go out one weekend for $2,000 and then the next weekend you're going out for $750. To me, I would rather stay home with my family than go out for $750. So I'm not trying to discourage you. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to encourage you to, you know, look at maybe that next step in what does it take to get to that level where you can start charging more. You can go to the $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 weddings. You know, and again, Dave and I have taken a lot of trainings. We've done a lot of hard work. Canadian dollars. So yeah, that's like, never mind. I'm not going to go there.
Mike, are you in Canada? Tell us where you're from, Mike. Or maybe he's referring to you. You're talking in Canadian dollars. Jeremy's in South Dakota. I'm in Manitoba. So take 30%. Those are Canadian dollars. Oh, you're in BC, Mike. Oh, nice. I don't know if we're connected on social, man, but try to find me if you can. Or shoot me a message if we're already friends and I'm being an idiot right now. Let's have a show about this, Jeremy. We'll have to tell John. Why don't we have a show maybe titled What to Do When You're Being Undercut or something like that?
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be a great topic. Great topic. I'm going to note that down right now.
So I know we got off track here. I know we got off track because you were talking about the dots. You were talking about all that kind of stuff. And again, I think that is a valuable turning point when it came to what we use in lighting and what you use in lighting, was recognizing the overall package or the overall experience that we're bringing a couple, as well as the people that we're working with, the other professionals. So I think the change is happening. And actually, I love the point that you said, or that you talked about, with they don't know what kind of speakers we have or what they're enjoying, but they're enjoying it. And why is that? You kind of mentioned something like that.
Yeah.
And the funny thing that I hear a lot, and maybe you hear it too, is you get those people that are like, well, we don't want the clubby look. We don't want we want our wedding to be elegant. So I don't want uplight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things that I always kind of mention to people is, think about your venue and what makes your room feel comfortable. If your walls are blank, you're not creating any accent. And the thing is the thing I don't think people understand is what happens is they see crappy uplighting done by somebody else. And I'm not putting anybody down in my company, in my market. I'm not saying anybody in my market does a bad job. But what I'm saying is they've seen lights that are bright blue or they're pink or whatever, and that's not them. So in their mind, that's what uplighting is, because that's the pictures that they've seen. So that's why we use a lot of warm white. We use a lot of amber. We use a lot of, just regular cool white. So more like a stark white. We use a lot of neutral colors because even if they have, if they have a black and silver wedding or a black and white wedding, then you're going to use more of a cool white. If you're doing more of like, well, we're doing this, rustic feel or, really warm tones, that's where you're going to use an amber color. So it's not like, well, if you're doing warm or if you're doing these warm colors, we're going to do bright green or, I think that's why people get the perception. And the other thing I want people to understand is look how much of an impact that Philips lighting has made. Okay. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Philips lighting? No.
Okay. So Philips, not in the DJ world, in the consumer world.
Right. The electrical company or product company. Yeah.
Philips came out with the Hue a couple of years ago. Everybody is buying Hues. Like people are putting in these Hue bulbs inside their house, which gives them another, a nice warm tone like you would see in a regular light bulb.
Okay.
But then if people are like, you know what, I want it to be blue in here. Now people can actually control their environment by using their phone or their smartphone to control their light.
Crazy. I have not looked into these. Wow.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's been a thing for like 3, 4, 5 years, I bet.
And you're in South Dakota.
Yeah, I know. We're on it. We are on it.
That doesn't say anything about my Manitoba.
But anyways, my point with that is, and I'm going to give you the floor here. Sorry. I get really excited about lighting.
Your baby.
My point of that is, people talk about, well, we don't want it to be this techno colors. We don't want it to be this clubby look, but yet consumers are buying these because they now have control of the room. They can now control the lighting and create any atmosphere they want. That's what we get to do every single time we do a wedding. We can control the room to do whatever we want it to do, whatever our client wants it to do.
Right.
So Simeon said, I love my Hue system.
I just saw that.
So see, there you go.
Clueless.
They haven't reached Canada yet.
I don't even remember the last time I bought light bulbs. It's been a while. We've been buying everything LED, which obviously Hue is. I imagine.
Well, and again, see, that's the thing. Now you look at the consumer world, everything that you see is LED anymore. Even the squirrel cage looking light bulbs are LED now. I mean, they have the actual filament and things like that, but
even fluorescent tubes are going LED too. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
So, I mean, you look at it, the reason fluorescent tubes are going LED is because, you break one of those tubes and you have like all these toxic fluorescent gases and stuff like that. So it's better for the environment. Like I said, I think LEDs really changed the game, not just in our world as entertainers or DJs or lighting people, but consumers as well are just eating it up. And, it's cost efficient and it's energy efficient. That's such a huge thing.
Yeah, big time. For myself, as a single op, no lighting tech, no lighting designer working with me. I'm emceeing, I'm DJing, I'm running the lighting, I'm running the sound. I really love how lighting has changed the game for me when it comes to the energy, the additional energy that I'm able to create with the music that I play.
Yeah.
Because I use Show Express to run my movers and my uplights, and I've got not enough, but a number of keyboard shortcuts set up to activate certain things in my lighting just like that.
Yeah.
So, when I play Uptown Funk, for instance, every time the horns hit in the chorus, right? where it goes, I always hit the S about a quarter of a second before that note drops, and that causes the entire system to strobe exactly to the song, right? Yep. And that's been one of the really big game changers for me when it comes to lighting at weddings, is not only from a decor point of view, but the energy it's allowed me to create. Just as, look, I'm doing everything. You couldn't do this before.
No.
And it's incredible. Yeah. And what I probably need to do now is I just need to hire someone, because I don't have any interest in fancy programming. I probably just need to hire someone to create a bunch of programming for me with my movers and my up lights, tell them what fixtures I have, and then I can continue just being the performer. You know, it's incredible how that game has changed so much. I mean, the very idea that you can have somebody do that for you was completely unheard of 10 years ago, right. 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, and we do All Show Express as well. And so we don't actually use keyboard shortcuts. I use a MIDI board, and you can actually program the MIDI board. Really simple to do. Yeah. And it's kind of muscle memory at this point. So I know exactly which buttons are going to do what, when I need it to do it.
Oh, wow.
It's dead on. I mean, it's so great. And I agree, you know, building the energy with your lighting is a whole different level, because before, again, if you had the sound activated lights, well, if you're doing a slow dance, you don't want it to be like lost in this moment with you. You know? So
whoa. I don't know if anybody else picked up on what just happened. The guy who hates country music just sang us a country song.
Well, it shows you how much I hate spinning lights too. So again, I think that is, you know, like you were talking about, the energy and being in control of your lighting is so important. And the cool thing too, so, you know, talking about DMX, look at wireless DMX. Like the Freedoms all have built-in wireless DMX. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can get little receivers to put in the back, and you know, that just saves you so much time. I remember doing a lighting. We did uplighting through an entire room, and this was before wireless DMX or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I had to DMX every single fixture together, and then you had to use an eliminator. So basically something that would kill the signal
at the end. Yeah.
At the end. Yep. So, I mean, you had all these variables. You're like, oh my gosh, why is this one blinking red? And why is that one strobing? You know? So you start going through the scenarios on why is this not working? Well, now the technology that these lighting companies are coming out with make it so easy for us. You look at the battery, you know, before it was running cords and cables and everything like that. When I first started doing lighting presentations, and Freedoms were kind of the thing at that moment, you know, it was like, oh my gosh, there's a battery powered wireless DMX uplight. That's so cool. One of my big selling points to people was I recommend having an uplight package available. You know, so you have, this is what it would cost, or this is what it would be for me to run lights all the way around the room.
Yeah.
But I can upgrade you to our wireless dynamic DMX or wireless battery, you know, that type of thing, battery powered. Because what that's going to do is now I can control the light. I can change the light. I can make transitions. When the energy's in the room and you want to make the whole room come alive, I can do that. The best part is it's going to look so clean, because now I don't have to run cables and cords and power cords and, you know, all this stuff. I don't have to run that across the room anymore.
Right.
So if you pay a little bit more, I can give you that at no cost. Really what they're doing is they're paying you more to work less. And that was a huge thing when those lights first came out. Was, I mean, that was an easy selling point, because people are like, oh my, yeah, I can't stand it when the room looks sloppy, or you know, there's all this cords running across the doorway and things like that. So again, I mean, they've allowed us to make more money and be more efficient on our job. As you being a single op, you know how important it is when you have to load in, and I mean, it's a huge game changer.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. I'm the roadie too.
Yeah.
And not a great roadie sometimes.
I believe it. You sound like you'd be mean to everybody.
I'm an absolute prick to my boss. What can I say? Yeah, lighting has, I mean, you know, LED, it's not that LED has changed the game recently. It's that the production cost of LED has changed the game.
Yeah.
I mean, LED's been around forever, of course. I mean, it's been running street lights for ages and that type of thing. But, I mean, the price has made it become so available that,
Right.
you know, I don't want to. I know there's a tendency here to say, you know, if you haven't jumped on that bandwagon like all in, that you might be out of sync with modern times. I know there's a tendency to say that. I'm not going to say that, but it's certainly something that some people might be thinking. And, you know, get in. Don't give them a reason to think that.
Yeah.
You know, look, as Jeremy and I speak about lots on this show, because it is wedding based, you know, nothing will replace, you know, a performance that hasn't been honed in maybe the way you want it to feel like. Nothing will replace that. I mean, I can still go out and do an event with no lighting at all and absolutely get referrals out of it.
Yeah.
But it's a tool, and it's an incredible tool, and I'm so thankful that I have access to it. And I don't have access to it because I had, you know, 30 grand to spend on lighting. No, not even close.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's an important thing for people to understand is lighting is just a tool.
Yeah.
You know, I've done weddings where they said, you know what, we don't want any lighting. Again, because they've been to weddings and it's like, okay, that's way too much.
Yeah.
Is it effective? Absolutely. But if you have somebody who says they don't want lighting, you know, you have to you feel like you have to up your game as a performer. But now what I want you to think about is if you felt like you had to go an extra 10, 20, 30% stronger as an entertainer without lighting, why aren't you still doing that with lighting?
True that.
So, I mean, if you're like, well, I'm a lot more active on the microphone, or I'm more energetic, or I mix my music better, then don't let lighting get in the way. Allow it to be a part of what you're doing in your performance. If it's getting in the way, then like Dave said, you know, hire somebody. If you have to have a kid, you know, 16, 18-year-old kid who could be your roadie as well as your lighting guy, and all he has to do is do lighting cues and strokes and things like that, then hire him. But if it's going to up your game, and then you can start charging more for your services, A, to pay this guy, but B, because you're bringing them a next level of event, then it's worth it. So, yeah, that's, gosh, there's something else I wanted to talk about. Go ahead. You can talk for a second. Let me think.
I can talk for a second. I had to write that I loved Simeon's comment here. People that might be watching the rebroadcast of this might not hear this or not see the chat, so I'm just going to read it out here quick. Simeon was talking about the Hue lights, and he said, yeah, their main selling point is atmosphere. You can even sync them in your house with the movies, shows, or even the music. That's wild. Did he say something about syncing with the lyrics too? No, it's a great comparison when trying to sell uplighting. They also have holiday scenes. He's able to control his lights via the Philips app to make the house look haunted. What? Yeah,
you need to do some research, Dave.
That's amazing. Have you got your house outfitted with these?
No.
You?
I got enough. I don't need more. I just need a break sometime.
Would love to hear from anybody if you're watching this broadcast after it's gone live. If you have comments about how lighting has changed the game in your region, certainly add it to the comments below in the YouTube feed or the Facebook feed or wherever you might be watching it. It's I'll be honest, it's something I have a hard time going without now.
Yeah.
You know, as much as I did say a few minutes ago, I can still go out in the lighting and so on and so forth. But you know, when people don't book my full uplighting package, that's a little bit not as much fun because I don't get the whole room jumping and doing what I love for it to be doing. But I mean, for anybody who's wondering, I bring out a pair of movers and usually 8 uplight fixtures, and I use them strictly from the dance onward for some dance floor ambiance if people don't book my full 20 fixture system.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What do you do with your lighting before the dance starts?
So if they haven't booked it, I do nothing.
If they haven't booked the lighting?
If they haven't added on the uplighting package, I include a couple of movers for the dance in all that I do, but I don't use them ahead of the dance.
Okay.
Now, that said, I did For a time, used them to fly around and highlight the bride and groom as they came in for the grand entrance, that type of thing.
Okay.
And then there was a couple of times where going back and forth between playing my music, reading my script, doing the lighting cue, I missed it a couple times. And so I just kind of fell out of the habit.
Got it.
Look at Jeremy. He's just ready to burst on me. Dang,
no. We all do it different. We all do it different.
And I have toyed with using it for cake cutting. I think that's something you do. It creates such a hot spot on the cake that I've tried it a couple times and haven't been super thrilled with it. So maybe I need your input on that. But
yeah. So let me talk a little bit about how we utilize it. Even if and see, I personally, it's part of my service. It's part of what I do. It helps me create the energy. It helps me create the ambiance and elegance, those type of things.
Yeah.
So it's just part of my package. You know, if people say we don't want the lighting, no problem. It's still going to cost you this much for my services. So when it comes to before the dance, I always have uplighting. That's usually back behind the head table or around the dance floor area or somewhere to kind of create some of that elegance. And the reason I always recommend to the bride and groom that let's use this lighting up by the head table is because everybody's looking up there during the dinner. Everybody's taking pictures in that area. Everyone's focused on the bride and groom. So you want to kind of make that the most magical area. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the head table lighting is always included. Is that my microphone or your microphone? That's won't.
Can't hear
Maybe
it.
You can't hear it. Okay, I can hear it. Anyways, sorry, squirrel. The other thing is, like with my movers, I will typically I will shoot them into the ceiling, whether it's over the dance floor, over the head table, and I will unfocus it. I will typically use like a warm color, or if they have if they're doing, their color is purple or it's amber, then I will shoot that color up into the ceiling and I'll kind of create this wash effect over the top of the ceiling. If they are, or the other thing, I'm gonna have to restart my screen. I lost you guys. Hold up.
No, we can see you just fine.
Yeah, I can't see you guys.
That's fine.
All right, restarting. I think it's restarting.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so the other thing too is you talked about spotlighting during the grand entrance and things like that. I always recommend doing that because what you're doing is you're giving, again, your photographer opportunity so they don't have to sit there and try to, use their flash, and hopefully their flash keeps up with as many pictures as they're trying to shoot. Mm-hmm. We utilize it for cake cutting. Here's what I recommend doing. So the light isn't so harsh. You can do a couple things. You can dim it down. You can unfocus it. If you're like, well, it's too tight of a beam, I need it to be a little bit wider, put it into a prism and then still unfocus it. And basically what you're doing is you're creating a wash more than a spot. And what that does is it softens those edges, it blends the light better together, and now you're kind of illuminating that entire area. We utilize it sometimes we'll put it for toasts and speeches. So if they're having toasts, and because we have some venues that are just super dark where the head table's at. So we'll utilize that and we'll light up that area. So when toast and speeches are happening, or even just the bride and groom are sitting up there, and people are like looking at them and watching them, we don't want them to be lost up at the head table, especially if you have head table uplighting behind them, because now what you're doing is you're creating so much light back there. Right. Now they're dark here. So those things really become important. I use my movers in everything. I mean, I literally use them for every single thing I can think of. The one thing we haven't talked about is like the accent lighting. And this is where you start looking at centerpieces and pin spots and some of those things.
Right.
We have a pretty wide variety of inventory to kind of create anything for atmosphere. So there are so many options out there. I think we have 70 or 80 of the easy pins from Chauvet. I think we have 300 uplights now. So like I said, I mean, having that inventory allows us to do bigger events, but now we can do multiple events being a multi-op. So there's definitely some advantages to some of that new technology. And again, LDI basically is kind of the candy store of all this new stuff that's coming out for the lighting.
Right, right. Oh, very cool. I think, yeah, thank you for kind of reminding me about stuff with the movers and even doing the head table all the time. That's an interesting idea. It's an interesting idea. Maybe I'll have to add that in. Things to consider.
All right.
For Dave on Wedding Chat with Dave and Jared. How lighting has changed the game.
I'm on it.
Neil says, another fellow Canadian. Thanks for being here, Neil. I've tried to use my movers to spot different areas, the speeches and such, like you're mentioning, and specifically with speeches, the parents have always asked for it to be turned off because it's in their eyes and can't see anyone else. This is keeping things dimmed and such. Any advice, ideas about it?
Yes. So instead of actually shooting the spotlights on them, shoot it on the ceiling above them and allow that light to reflect back down onto them.
Boom. Provided that ceiling is there, of course, and it's not like a 12 or 15.
If you're outside underneath the stars, you're screwed.
But that's a good point, though. Mic drop, thanks. Does that help, Neil? Yeah? Excellent. Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, dimming them all the way down and then, developing rapport with the parents to the point where they will trust you that, look, you might have a little bit of light in your eyes, but it's going to be incredible for your photographer, videographer, and the guests. If you've got the rapport, maybe you can push that. I know, not always.
Yeah, so, and that's a great point. Even if you have the spotlights aimed at somebody, even if you have them at 1% brightness, that LED is still right in their eye. It doesn't matter how bright it is or how dim it is. It's still as if that light is still shining as bright as it can be. So, just dimming them down in those scenarios probably are not the best option. But yeah, unless there's clouds, like Robin said, if there's clouds, you reflect off the clouds, put a little bat symbol in there, you're good to go.
That's the greatest. Any final parting thoughts, Jeremy? This was fun.
No, like I said, I wanted to be out at LDI, and if people are wondering about more information, the trade show and everything starts on Friday, goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But yeah, so we just, again, family stuff. I have way so much stuff going on, and there's some great content out there. I wanted to hit up some of the education. There is great education out there. Obviously, you can go to my shop time videos. You can see a lot of my recommendations or different setups and how you can utilize your lighting to the fullest. So yeah, I mean, feel free to take those up. I do want to answer Simeon's final question here. Battery powered uplighting. Is there a specific one that I prefer?
Brand
I do, yeah, for brands. There's two that I kind of want to give shout outs to because I think they're kind of, they've developed the game, and I think there's some that are changing the game. There's a lot of options out there. Eternal makes a good unit. I know ADJ has a unit. I don't know exactly what they're called. Let's see. I mean, everybody pretty much has one anymore. The two that really stand out for me is the Chauvet DJ Freedoms. To me, if I was going to buy more uplights, it would be the Hex for sure, because what that does is it allows you to do some pretty extensive color mixing while keeping your batteries really efficient. So I would go with a Hex styled fixture. So Chauvet DJ has a great unit. And then there's also a company that I found probably like 2 years ago, a company called JMAZ. And they've been really impressive. They were at Mobile Beat. They were in Atlantic City, and they're definitely making some noise as well. So they've got some good stuff to check out. They each have their own protocols. So, if you go online and you find the cheap 2.4 gigahertz wireless transmitters and receivers, they have their own specific signals. So Chauvet, the reason they do that is because the 2.4 generic is so busy with signal. This is a whole different, I could go on this forever, but they're so busy. When you think about, like, you look at cell phone networks and all that, it's all in the same networks. It's all in the same, protocols and everything. So Chauvet has their own, JMAS has their own, ADJ has their own, Blizzard has their own. They all have their own. So you kind of have to keep that in mind as you're building your arsenal for lighting. So okay. I'm done.
How do you spell JMAZ? It was the final question.
Just JMAZ. So I think their website is JMAZ Lighting. I know that they're going to be out in LDI, and like I said, they have some really good stuff. I think the DJ world's going to be excited about. And again, Chauvet's just been super solid for years, and they keep putting out great stuff. So
And for those in Canada, JMAZ is spelled J-M-A-Z. Thanks, everyone.
Ridiculous. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time.
Cheers. Bye-bye.